The following is an exclusive presentation of WI Garden Media, the voice of Garden Talk Radio. Coming up on the program today, we're going to talk about dangerous plants that are growing right here in the U.S., as well as harvesting and using fallen apples and produce. Can it be done safely? Our guest is host of the blog Here She Grows. Heather Blackmore will be with us, and we'll answer your garden questions. The hour's full, so join us.
You are listening to the most informationally packed hour of garden-focused radio in the country and on the internet with your host, husband and wife team Joey and Holly Baird. This is the Gardening with Joey and Holly radio show.
And welcome to another edition of the Gardening with Joey and Holly radio show. Happy to have you along and allowing us to be part of your day just for a little bit. I'm your host, Joey Baird. Beside me is my wife, co-host, best friend, and gardening partner,
Holly Baird.
This program is for you, about you, to help your garden grow better, to maintain your landscape, grow healthier trees, make your grass look greener, as well as preserving what you grow. Happy you're tuning in, whether you're listening to us on one of the 20 AM and FM frequencies broadcasting our program here in 2025 through our parent website, thewisconsinvegetablegardener.com, underneath the Radio 9 tab at the top of the page, podcast replay, or in-studio video replay. We thank you so much for choosing our program to listen, learn, and be entertained by. If you want to be part of the program, you can certainly do that by sending us an email to gardentalkradio@gmail.com. That's gardentalkradio@gmail.com. You can also let us know where you're listening from. You can give us a call toll-free, coast to coast, at 1-800-927-SHOW. That's 1-800-927-7469. Leave a message if we can't get you on the program. Well, it's time for this week. Before we get started, it's time for this week's joke of the week.
All right. So what if your dog, was digging in the garden? What would you do to stop him?
You would yell at him. You would lure him away with a treat.
No. You take a shovel away.
Take a shovel
away.
He's digging in the garden. Okay. Mm-hmm. All right.
This week's garden joke.
It's a thinker.
I have to explain that to you. It's not.
No. Okay.
That's like a you type of joke, by the way. Yeah.
No.
You didn't get it. This week's garden joke is brought to you by...
Dogs typically dig in the garden with their paws. That's why.
That's why it's like
funny.
a joke. Is your refrigerator running? You better go catch it. Yeah. This week's garden joke is brought to you by Rescue.com. American-made rescue products keep your family, home, and yard protected from pests like wasps, hornets, yellow jackets, flies, ants, and more. Learn more at Rescue.com. That's RESCUE.com.
Well, there is a lot of wonderful plants that are growing in the countryside, even in your backyard, but there are some that are dangerous. Now, to us as humans, they're dangerous, but they have a very important role in the ecosystem. We're not going to talk about that aspect of it. We're going to talk about the ones that are dangerous and what to be aware of and what to look for. So if you have them or you're out and about, you can be prepared not to engage yourself with them.
Right. So we can talk about the first three are pretty common, well-known, especially poison ivy. But then there's also poison oak and poison sumac. But poison ivy is the leaves of three.
Let it be. Leave it alone.
I don't think I've ever been affected by poison ivy, but you have.
I will get it occasionally. Now, for those longtime listeners, you will know that I grew up on a farm in southern Illinois, and in southern Illinois, there's a lot of poison ivy. Where we're at in Wisconsin and our property in the northern ports, I don't believe there is poison ivy at all that I'm aware of. But back home, you're on the farm, you got poison ivy anytime you do a fence row or you do this or do that. My mom was very sensitive to it, meaning that we could use axes and shovels to clean out a fence row, for example, and it'd be poison ivy. We would let that sit and we'd throw it up in and put it back in the shed. And in 6 months, she would take it and use it in the garden, and she would break out because that's how sensitive she was. She would get the oils that was still left on the handle from 6+ months ago. And then
I think I believe that's a genetic thing. Don't quote me on that. But, so you don't want to mess with poison ivy. And then poison oak, poison sumac, not as common. I think more south, I believe. Poison
oak is in the areas of the where I grew up too.
Yeah. So more south, not where we are now in Wisconsin, but that's okay. So then we also have wild parsnip. This is a poisonous plant. This one will also give you a rash type situation. It is part of the parsley family, which that also includes carrot, celery, and dill. And these can grow up to 5 feet tall. They have a yellow flower, kind of looks like Queen Anne's lace, but yellow. So you don't want to brush up against that. You definitely don't want to mistake it for regular parsnip. I don't know why you would dig up random plants, but don't do that.
Poison ivy is found throughout the continental United States, without the exception of Alaska and Hawaii. It appears, based on certain maps that I'm looking at right now, more of the eastern half of the state and up in the Canadian provinces on the eastern side of the country up there.
Well, there you go. Yeah. So wild parsnip, that's pretty much everywhere in North America. It's throughout North America where you can find wild parsnip.
But also the other maps show it's throughout the United States. So it's everywhere. Some places it's more predominant than other places, the poison ivy and the poison oak and the poison sumac. So if you are new to going out and you're wanting to camp or you're wanting to travel or whatever, be aware of some of these things. Just don't walk in the woods or a prairie and go, well, it's nature, and then come back. And in some cases, the severity is a visit to the emergency room.
I think that also speaks to staying on trails if you are going to go to a state park or a national forest.
Which is something you do on a regular basis.
Right, or like even county parks, because most of the time, if there's a poison ivy situation, they're going to take care of it. I remember I went to a state park that was recently, this was a couple of years ago, recently was a county park, and then they put it back into the state park system. I remember they're saying, like, don't go off trail, high poison ivy. So they must spray for it or mitigate it in some way. And so that speaks to reasons to stay on trail, because you don't know what's out there. And also, people want you to stay on trail. Whoever owns that land, whether it's the state or the Department of Natural Resources or the National Forest, because it prevents things like soil compaction, disturbing that ecosystem. The areas where you're walking that are deemed a trail are meant for walking. Staying on trail helps prevent a lot of things, including possibly giving yourself poison ivy. Now,
the list that we have is just a small list. There's many different plants that are dangerous to us. Wild parsnip, poison, giant hogweed. That's another one to look at. What else we've got here?
We also have stingy
metal. Yeah,
metal. And I
people will make tea out of this.
Yeah, I was just thinking that. So it's not. It's what it is the hairs. Mm-hmm. So like when you touch it, it has these like leaves that.
It's like fiberglass that gets in your fingers. Yeah. If you handled fiberglass or whatever, it kind of stings and burns. But this is to a whole different level.
Right. So the leaves have the stinging things, and so what will happen is that it'll give you a rash, and then I'm sure you probably, if it gets bad enough, you probably have to seek treatment. So you don't want to deal with that. But people do use it. They make tea out of it, and they use it for allergies, like seasonal allergies. And I remember I had a friend who was really big into homeopathic practices, and he had told me, because I have seasonal allergies, to drink stinging nettle tea, and I didn't feel like I wanted to go search out stinging nettle.
You can get organic. You can buy organic needle leaf tea.
But the thing is like the thought process is finding the stinging nettle in your area, and then it would have the allergen, like the histamines or whatever, to help with your allergies. And I never did seek out to go find stinging nettle. But yes, it does. It grows up to 8 feet tall. The leaves are about 2 to 5 inches, and they look prickly.
Yeah, they've got little tiny hairs. If you're, on a tomato plant, you see those little fibrous hairs as a seedling when you plant it. Stinging nettle kind of has that same likeness, but they are not as pleasant to touch.
I wouldn't say very not pleasant. All right, so water hemlock. Now, this is also in the parsley family, such as carrots, parsnips, parsley, fennel. It's not related to the hemlock tree, and a lot of times it is confused with Queen Anne's lace. So you might have Queen Anne's lace like in your backyard somewhere, like maybe like by a school or a church or something that's growing that somebody had planted there. This could get confused, especially if it's near, near a waterway, and it has like this hairy stem, and then it has a little, what's it called? Reddish purple flower. So you have to keep that in mind.
And you see, I look at these images, and if you're following along and you're looking these up as we talk about them, this looks very familiar to a lot of things that I had on the farm or you see in road ditches. Yeah.
And it could be that water hemlock, and it could be...
oh, look at this pretty flower. I love you, honey. And then...
Yeah, another one is pokeweed, because pokeweed it has these like large leaves that are purple, reddish purple stems. It looks really pretty. They have dark purple berries that grow like a grape cluster, and you're like, oh, that's pretty. Let me go touch that. And if you eat it, it is poisonous. If you touch it,
we would have that grow up in fields, fence rows. Pokeweed? Yeah, the pokeweed. Yeah,
I think I saw some the other day.
And it would be almost like hacking. You'd have a machete, and you'd be hacking it down like a tree in order to get it out of that fence row. And we were grabbing it and pulling it.
You weren't eating it.
No, we weren't eating it. No.
No, that's one of these are the ones that that's one of the ones that you don't want to eat.
And you hear these stories, and we've all heard them on. If you've done any. Watching on YouTube in this type of genre, well, you can eat this, but it has to be picked at the precise time and boiled in the precise measure at this amount of time, and then if all is right, you'll be okay.
And
how many people have not have unalived because I've heard somebody, Grandpa said, and then boom, that's it.
Right. The pokeweed. You do have to. You can only eat the leaves or something like that. So
if it's that, if the world is going to end and we've got to start figuring out if we can eat this at the right time and boil it for the right amount, we've got no hope.
Then that's when you go for the pokeweed.
Yeah. We got time for one more.
Deadly Nightshade. I think a lot of people are familiar with this. It has that really dark color, shiny like berry, like a dark purple. Almost black, and it does it's gonna make you sick, and it's not typically, it's very rare, it's extremely rare, but it's one of those things where you like see it and you're like, this looks like this
a fruit, an edible fruit. Yeah, because I'm certain we've had this in the garden.
I'm pretty sure we have too. And a lot of these plants are becoming increasingly more popular as animals move around, people move around. It's not, the days where people are not traveling as much. People are still traveling more and more, bringing their kids outside. A lot of the stuff gets moved around, birds migrate, etc. So keep that in mind. Deadly Nightshade has that super dark purple berry, and it looks like kind of like a cherry almost, kind of that shape. And it's not good for you.
There you go. And that's just a handful. We could go another 2 segments on it. But I guess be aware, you can certainly go to your favorite search engine and type in deadly plants in North America or in the U.S. or in your particular country, wherever you may be listening from, and be familiar with what they are. Knowledge is power, so you're not touching, eating, or having it smeared on your hands, and then you're touching your eyes or wiping something off of your, a wound and getting infected that way as well.
That sounds awful. But what sounds good is we are brought to you today by our sponsor, Walton's. We know you care about where your food comes from, obviously. Canning and preserving your fruits and vegetables is great, but what about the meat? At Walton's, they have everything you need, equipment, seasoning, supplies to make sausage, jerky, and any other meat product your way to your high standards. They also have meatgistics.com, an informational site to help you make the best finished product. Walton's even has a full line of their own meat grinders, mixers, and sausage stuffers to help you go from animal to edible. Walton's everything but the meat. Use code GROW50, that's GROW50, to save 10% off your orders of $50 or more.
When we return, harvesting fallen fruit and produce. Did you know there can be it can be unhealthy and dangerous? We'll break it all down for you when we return. You're tuned in the Gardening with Joy and Holly radio show.
Have a garden question? Give Joey and Holly a call now or anytime 24/7. Just dial 1-800-927-SHOW. If you can't get through, leave a message and they will call you back. Call now 1-800-927-SHOW.
Azure Standard is America's premier family-owned online store for organic foods and healthy products for your home and garden. They deliver directly to families and commercial customers through over 3,500 drop points across all 50 states. Azure Standard strives to make grocery shopping easy, bringing all your needs to one convenient pickup location. As a trusted national health food distributor, Azure Standard offers bulk and specialty health foods to communities nationwide. With over 12,000 products, each one is approved and carefully sampled to ensure the highest quality. Azure Standard holds firm to non-GMO, organic, and natural standards. From food and beauty products to household items, nutritional supplements, animal care, hobby supplies, and even garden essentials, Azure Standard truly has everything for your daily living. Visit AzureStandard.com. That's AZURE Standard.com. Use promo code Joey and Holly15 at checkout to get 15% off for new customers who open an account for the first time and place a minimum order of $100 or more, shipped to a drop location of your choice. That's code Joey and Holly15 at AzureStandard.com. Azure Standard is AZURE Standard.com.
Jung Seed Company is a family-owned and operated gardening company since 1907 with the largest selection of seeds and plants online. Use coupon code 15TG25 to receive 15% off your order at jungseed.com. That coupon code is 15TG25 to save 15% off your order at jungseed.com.
R.H. Shumway is a family-owned and operated gardening company with a large selection of seeds and plants online. You can use code 15TG25 to receive 15% off your order at rhshumway.com. That's code 15TG25. Garden like a pro in 3 easy steps and receive customized fertilizer recommendations for your garden or lawn. Soil Savvy helps you determine what nutrients your plants need to thrive. Never again over-apply nutrients they don't need. A patented process that makes you a smart gardener. To get your soil test kit, go to mysoilsavvy.com.
Save your back. Easily and quickly remove trees and shrubs from your property with the Weed Wrench. Find it at weed-wrench.com. Made in the USA. Use coupon code WEED to save $10 off your Weed Wrench at weed-wrench.com. Welcome back to the Garden with Joy and Holly radio show. Happy to have you around. Thank you for allowing us to be part of your world for a little bit. Harvesting and using fallen apples and other produce, can it be done safely? Well, we are going to discuss that. Now, this was something that was brought up in one of the social media groups that I was not aware was a concern, and I'm glad we're going to discuss this because maybe many of you were unaware that this was actually a potential health hazard.
Right. So what we're talking about here is as produce falls to the ground, gets damaged, maybe sits there for
gets bruised and cracked,
cracked a day or two before you harvest it. You don't realize it's there. You find it. Oh, I found this pile of tomatoes, apples, whatever it may be, or this pumpkin split open, or cantaloupe, or
watermelon, tomatoes, peppers, pears, peaches.
So what happens is that it falls to the ground, and then if it's cracked open, it can be susceptible to infiltration during the washing step. So you might think, I'll just wash this off and still eat it, and it can cause problems. So the best ways to avoid this is to keep in mind that just because it's possibly okay to wash it off, or also look for insects. So you might find a tomato that looks okay, and then you see like this little split, or like a bite.
Well, and speaking of the tomatoes, you got to get your tomatoes off the ground. 50% of your tomato harvest is lost if you don't support them by cage or Florida weave or some type of tool. Or anyway, but then you get a tomato will fall and have a little crack, and you're like, okay, I'll just bring it home. And you bring it home, put it on the counter. In like 12 hours, it starts to smell. And then all of a sudden, there's like a million gnats that all of a sudden have come from nowhere and is feeding in this little crack of the tomato.
Right. So, and with that being said, especially like you might still, there's people who are still going to eat it. We know that. But definitely don't use it for like canning or any sort of long-term food storage. If you do, if you have a few drop pieces of produce and they look okay and you want to take that risk, then definitely go for it. But again, don't put it in the canning supply.
Yeah, cut the bad portion off and then smell the portion that has not been damaged and make your own judgment whether or not you should utilize that portion of the fruit or vegetable for consumption.
Right. So, yeah. So what you also want to keep in mind is dropped apples. And a lot of people have apple trees these days. A lot of people go apple picking.
Because of Johnny Appleseed.
Because of Johnny Appleseed. So say you have an apple tree or you go apple picking with your, lovely partner.
That is the biggest scam in the world. You ever notice that?
And you pick your own anything?
I'm going to have a farm and I'm going to have a bunch of apple trees and then I'm going to have people pay me to go out and they pick the apples and have their little experience in the little fall festival photographs.
I mean, it makes sense because it is an experience.
And the people, if you've done this, when you see cars drive in the driveway, if they are the money spenders or they're just doing it because they want to or based on
Some people will go and they will just, because there's no entry fee usually, they'll just go and take their picture sometimes too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but you're probably not supposed to do that.
That's probably frowned upon.
Probably frowned upon. But I do agree it's kind of a scam, especially when I can
Not to the farmer.
I can get a bag of apples at certain stores for...
Now, strawberry picking, raspberry picking, that's different.
That is different.
Yeah.
Nobody's taking pictures in the strawberry
Oh,
field.
look at me. But with the apples, even if your own tree, your own pear tree, your own apple tree, your whatever that is, whatever fruit you have, you feel bad whenever they have fallen to the ground and they become damaged. You're like, I don't want to waste this. I will do what I need to. I can turn it into apple cider vinegar or pear cider vinegar or something like that. Or I can juice the good parts of it. I don't want to waste it.
Right. So then this is why you should not eat those apples
that have been apples or fruits that have been damaged.
Right. Well,
okay.
This is apples specifically.
Okay.
There's a mycotoxin called petulin, and it's produced by molds like Penicillium, Aspergillus, and then a few others. And what happens is this toxin is heat stable, which means it's resistant to heating even at pasteurization temperatures.
It doesn't kill it.
No.
Yeah.
You cannot see you cannot see or smell this toxin, and there's no way to know if it's present without laboratory testing. So I doubt you're sending your dropped apples to the lab.
No, nobody's doing that.
So this can cause serious illness, especially to the nervous system, and also could cause problems with blood flow, nausea, vomiting, other symptoms. So if you have a bunch of dropped apples, you're apple picking.
How rare is this? What is the percentage that you may get this if you go ahead and use those drop apples or pears or peaches? I don't have that statistic. We're just providing the information. This is from the University of Minnesota Extension under the Fruit and Vegetable News. You can certainly search that and read all in depth. There's photographs that show certain things that are of the fruits and vegetables that we were speaking about.
Now,
yes,
if you are for some reason sending these apples to a cider maker who is going to make hard cider via fermentation process, they have the special step called the kill step. So a lot of these fallen apples do go to hard cider companies that will use these apples. So not all these apples are going to waste.
Okay.
Use these fallen apples because they have this in the fermentation process, this extra.
So this is when they're making like wine. Is that
hard cider?
Hard cider, alcoholic,
which is like alcoholic cider.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in that process, there's this
the kill process.
It does. Yeah. Basically,
it's a step.
It's a step. It does something with the microorganisms, and it makes it safe to produce this alcoholic cider because of that process. So don't feel bad for the fallen apples.
Well,
Somebody's
I mean,
probably
you're not
enjoying
taking them out of your yard.
a boozy night because of the fallen apples.
Well, whenever we had a big, large pear tree for many years, self-pollinating pear tree in our front yard of the place that we currently live. And it has died. But at its peak, it was probably 35 feet tall, 20 feet wide, and half of the tree was overcasting on the pavement, and the other half was the grass. And it never failed. Every year, it was loaded with, no exaggeration, at least 800 to 1,200 pounds of pears. And you would wait until they're about ripe, and always right before they got ripe, there would always be a windstorm, and 90% of the pears would hit the ground, and there would literally be 6 to 8 inches of pears on the ground surrounding the whole tree. Now, some of them I was able to salvage. We didn't know this, so we did utilize some of them. We took the non-damaged ones. When they hit the pavement, they just splattered, so they were no good. They were compost. And the other ones in which were slightly damaged, I would take and bury them in the garden, trench method. And in the fall, you just take them like you're going to plant potatoes, go about 6 inches, 8 inches deep, and just load that ditch up with the bruised, damaged, splattered pears by the bucket load, and feed the soil.
There's nothing wrong with that. So yeah, that's one way you can make a difference with your dropped produce.
Because it will in the fall when those things are splattering. There's a lot of sweat bees. There's a lot of bees. There's a lot of, because it's that last warm time of year, and these insects are looking for that sweetness, that sugar, the moisture, and it can be quite dangerous in some conditions when those pears and apples and fruits are falling and laying on the ground. And it doesn't take long for them to begin to ferment once they hit the ground and they start cracking in with that high fall temperature right before it gets cold.
Right. So it is against federal regulation for food growers, farmers, whatever you want to call them, producers to sell dropped produce.
It has to be pristine.
Yeah. But it does not include root crops. So carrots, potatoes, whatever. Crops that grow on the ground, such as cantaloupe, and then produce that is intentionally dropped to the ground as part of the harvesting, such as walnuts. Mm-hmm. So if you go to an apple farm and they say don't pick the apples off the ground,
there's a reason why.
They're covering themselves. Uh-huh. Don't be a ding-dong. Leave those apples alone.
Be a ding-dong somewhere else.
Be a ding-dong somewhere else. I actually have a coworker who grows apple trees, and he's very particular about his apples. He doesn't want to lose them. Uh-huh. So he will buy these little bags to keep the different insects off of them, but also so that they don't less and less drop. And he puts these bags around each apple to protect them.
Well, summer is slowly disappearing. The days are getting shorter, nights are getting longer, and at some point cooler. Kids are in school, and you have probably forgot about your lawn.
Just because it is fall, we don't want to forget about our yards, those Japanese beetles either. They may be gone, but they're not far. Not only do they feast on your roses and berries this summer, they lay eggs in your turf so that they can start again next year. Take a stand with phylums Grub-Gone. Grub-Gone is a non-chemical Bt granule that specifically targets scarab pests and their larvae. Simply apply the granule with a spreader, irrigate into the soil, and let the naturally occurring bacteria do its job.
Not only is Grub-Gone easy to use, but it is the only non-chemical choice that effectively controls grubs. And the best part about it, it's non-toxic to bees and other pollinators and beneficial insects. In fact, Grub-Gone has no label restrictions for use around flowering plants like mums in the fall. So you don't have to worry about getting those you don't have to worry about those bees being toxified and killing the hive when you're trying to get rid of the beetles. You can find all this information out, plus a whole lot more, at grubgone.com from Phylum Bioproducts. Just remember, grubgone.com. Hang out with us when we return. Heather Blackmore will be with us from thereSheGrows.com blog. You're tuned in to the Gardening with Joy and Holly radio show.
Got a question for Joey and Holly? Send it via email anytime to gardentalkradio@gmail.com.
Good garden tools make gardening easier. Wisconsin-made Cobra Head tools simplify weeding, cultivating, digging, and planting. Favorites of professional gardeners, Cobra Head tools are durable, ergonomic, and easy to work with. Visit CobraHead.com and use coupon code SOIL for 10% off your order. David J. Frank, Southeastern Wisconsin's leading landscape company, is a landscaper you need. Their award-winning services include everything from lawn care, landscape maintenance, design, construction, renovation, irrigation, sustainability, and more. Big or small, let the experts at David J. Frank handle the hard work for you. Find out more at davidjfrank.com.
Mantis garden tiller cultivators are the perfect solution for any garden. With their gas-powered 2-cycle or 4-cycle engine, these powerful machines can till 9 or 16 inches of land without you breaking a sweat. And it doesn't stop there. Mantis's optional attachments allow you to aerate, plow, and more with the snap of a finger. Engineered with durability in mind, Mantis tiller cultivators will be your guaranteed garden companion for a long time. You can find more out and details at mantis.com.
A non-selective herbicide that is also USDA Bio-Preferred certified? You bet. Say goodbye to Roundup and hello to No More Weeds by Naturally Green Products. No More Weeds kills weeds with no harsh chemicals and no glyphosate. Safe around pets, No More Weeds has a proprietary sticking agent to use around gardens, pools, decks, patios, anywhere there are weeds. Available online at natgreenproducts.com, Amazon, and Walmart.com. Order yours today. The same great company that brings you no more bugs. Pomona's Universal Pectin is a high-quality pectin that gels reliably with low amounts of any sweetener. If you're trying to reduce the amount of sugar in your diet, you'll love Pomona's Universal Pectin. Now you can make healthy homemade jams and jellies sweetened to your taste. You can use sugar or honey to sweeten. Pomona's Universal Pectin keeps indefinitely when stored in an airtight container. Easy to use, versatile, and comes with directions and recipes in every box. Find out more and where to buy at PomonaPectin.com. Also available at natural food stores and online.
Shore and Shore utility cart is designed to help you with your projects around the yard and get your garden work done with ease. With a load capacity of 400 pounds, telescoping sides, the ability to use as a flat bed, and the option to pull it behind your bicycle. This cart is ideal for use around the garden, yard, lake, beach, park, and more. In short, the Shore and Shore is the most versatile cart in the market. Check us out at shoreandshore.com and get yours today. Do you have nuts or fruit in your yard? A Nut Wizard is a handy, effective tool that will pick up round or oval tree produce quickly and easily, leaving debris behind for a clean harvest. A Nut Wizard tool saves your back and your time. Visit nutwizard.com for more information. Welcome back to the Gardening with Joey and Holly radio show. Thank you for being with us. You want to learn more about those sponsors and all those who support our program financially so you can hear it on your radio station each week, you can go to our parent website, thewisconsinvegetablegardener.com, underneath the Season 9 tab at the top of the page for all the listings, and the Money tab for the coupon codes. Holly, let's go to the hotline and bring in our guest for this week.
Heather Blackmore loves sharing her garden and everything she has learned from it with the hope that it will inspire others to get their hands dirty. Gardening in Zone 5B, the Chicago area climate. As a former master gardener, she relies on her training to create and maintain a healthy garden. Her website is hereshgrows.com. Welcome to the program, Heather.
Hi, Joy and Holly. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you so much for taking time out of your day, not only to educate Holly and myself, but all of our listeners.
So, as we are getting to the later parts of the summer and early fall, for gardeners who had not had the garden they had dreamed of this year, whether it be flowers or vegetables, what words of encouragement can you offer for them to not give up and to certainly just try again next year?
Well, I think it's important to see everything you do as a learning experience. So not everything's going to go well. I mean, every gardener that I know has a laundry list of plants that they've killed. So I guess gardening is, killing things is part of gardening. And once you get over that hump and, decide that you're going to continue to grow something and try again, that's the key to gardening, is just coming back to it and not being discouraged, because killing things is part of the whole gardening learning process.
Well, I guess, you see this a lot on social media. Well, this year my plants were this many weeks behind, or this many weeks ahead, or it was so dry I never remember, or it was hotter than it's ever been. It's always something, whether it's true or not. It makes us feel better to complain about it. Right.
Yeah, I think that's just kind of the human experience is, misery loves company. So we want to have an excuse, but things happen in the garden. And every time that happens to me, I want to know why it happened. So I take a deep dive into those things to educate myself. I talk to other gardeners about it, share the experiences that I'm having, and see, oftentimes, I've learned so much from people that know more than me. So I'll tell them what's happened to me, and they'll say, oh yeah, this is what happened. I had the same experience. This is what I did for it. And so having that camaraderie with other gardeners, and, it makes you feel like, okay, this person had the same thing. This is natural. This is normal. I'm going to go back to it and give it another go.
And most people don't want to get older, but typically most people who are getting older has a level of wiseness that young people don't have, that us younger people need to pay attention to.
Absolutely. And, when I was in Master Gardener training years ago, I was on the younger side of that class. And so that was quite an asset for me, because all of those people had years and years of experience. So when you think about it, I've been gardening for 20 years, but I'm a cold climate gardener. So I've only had 20 tries at this. That's not a lot of tries, So someone who's been gardening for 40 years, well, they've had 40 tries at it, because if they're cold climate, they're gardening, just for a very short amount of time. So they've had more tries. So obviously they have more knowledge. And those are the people you want to talk to. You want to talk to people who've been doing it longer than you, and I think the worst thing you can do is compare yourself to others, and then look at these magazines too that are these gorgeous spreads of gardens. And that can be such a deterrent too, because you think, oh my goodness, why don't my things look like that? Well, there's a lot going on behind the scenes that we don't know. And when we're just starting to garden, we can't compare ourselves to other people's wins, because you're going to have a lot of losses.
Well, and we've had Joe Lampo, host of PBS's Growing a Greener World, on the program, and whenever he was on the DIY network, or I guess it was, he said that the part of the going into that process was zero failure. You cannot have any plants fail, otherwise the show doesn't work. That's not real life.
No, certainly not. And if we all looked that way, if we all thought of it that way, no one would be gardening, because we kill a lot of plants. There's, you're dealing with climate issues, you're dealing with environmental issues, you're dealing with the bugs, and all these fluctuations in temperature. So, and we're forcing plants that wouldn't normally grow together to grow, and we're doing all of these things. So when you think about it, gardens are really unnatural environments, because most of these plants usually don't grow together unless we're doing native plantings. So we've got a lot of variables going on, and they all don't always fall into place. So there's always going to be a hiccup.
And with the vegetable gardening world, many of us are not standing in the garden 12 hours a day babying the plants. It's not as if we have a failure, we can still have access to the farmer's market or the grocery store. It's not a live or die situation.
Right. And I'm not a homesteading gardener. I'm not growing things to put them up for storage for months and months. It's I really just appreciate having a homegrown tomato for the time that it's here. And then if I've got extra, I'll go and can it. But, I'm celebrating I harvested a single eggplant last week and a couple zucchini, and I had some bell peppers. I threw all that in the oven, roasted it with some olive oil, salt, and pepper, and I had the best vegetable side dish. And it was not a giant harvest, but it was absolutely delicious. And it was a small thing, but it was a win.
Definitely always a great win when you can get anything to grow, to harvest.
Right.
So as a country, many people have adapted to this perfect lawn mindset, which really is not what anybody should have. But that's where we are as a country at times. And a lot of times they think that, requires hard work, lots of chemicals, whether it be applied by the homeowner or hiring a truck that comes and sprays the lawn, that you can't walk on it, have pets on it, etc. Where in the past did this concept come from, and what lawn care can be very easy, safe, and organic, and a few non-grass plants that are okay?
Yeah. I think it evolved over time. It became a competitive thing. You had these these subdivisions popping up, and it was a competition who had the best lawn. And so to achieve that, they started incorporating all of these chemicals, and then the companies started catching on, going, oh, these people really want green lawns at any cost. So it's a competitive thing. I think it's neighbors compete with each other because they want the best looking grass, which is absolutely bananas in my opinion. So, I mean, I believe there's a place for grass. I think having grass is very important, but I think it's overdone. We don't need to have all that grass because there's so much that goes into maintaining it. If you want it to be constantly green and weed free. So my entire backyard is predominantly clover. Clover fixes nitrogen in the soil. It's, attracts the bees. So the bees have something to pollinate, they're foraging on those flowers. It's beautiful to walk on. It never turns, never goes brown. It's also something that the rabbits kind of gravitate to. So it keeps them away from my vegetables and my perennials sometimes. But I really love the look of clover in my garden, and it's absolutely beautiful, and there's no maintenance at all, and it's even green when we're going through drought. It's just constantly beautiful and easy.
Well, also there's 3 letters that a lot of people HOA. There's people want to have a beautiful lawn because the HOA will find me if I don't, and
right.
That's a whole nother conversation for a whole nother day, and people have very not nice things to say.
Right.
There are times when landscaping is done on people's property and they're just not happy with it. What are some solutions or ways to make the best of that oopsie, whether they didn't do their due diligence and find a good landscaper, or they thought they were getting a deal and the deal really wasn't as good as they thought it was?
Well, I think if you've got something with the landscaper and they didn't follow through, it's something you'd have to address with the company that you hired. But you want to make sure that you're looking into the background of these companies too. Ask them for a portfolio. Ask to speak with prior clients. Drive past a few homes if they don't mind sharing their addresses so you can actually see what their work looks like. And if you're someone who's a DIYer and you're not happy with the plan that you made and how the installation went, maybe things are not filling in, or it just didn't, just feed that image that you had in your mind of how this was going to be. I think your best friend in that situation is a camera. Cameras have taking a picture of a site that's not, pleasing to the eye, and maybe sometimes you don't know exactly what it is about that space that you don't like. Oftentimes taking a picture of it and bringing it in and studying that photograph, maybe enlarging it a little bit, studying that photograph to see, okay, maybe I need a dark leaf plant in there, or maybe I have too much of something, or maybe the shape isn't right and I need to vary the flower shapes in the garden. Maybe I've got too many daisy-shaped flowers and maybe I need more spikes. So having a photograph of the area that you're not happy with is a really good technique that I use frequently to go back and revise and edit my garden so I get it, something that to the point where I feel like, wow, that really looks the way I imagined it should look.
Well, go ahead.
I've actually also heard of muralists doing that, where they because when they step back and they take a look at the whole picture, it looks different than if they take a picture and look at it on a screen for some reason. So that really makes a lot of sense.
And also another technique would be, if you've got the ability to, is if you can take the photo in black and white, do that. Yeah. Or, transfer it into your computer and change it to black and white. And that will really help you. It just pulls out the shapes of all your plants so you can really see what's missing. It's just another helpful tool to design and redesign that space. And take a little bit at a time. I wouldn't do the entire garden at once. I would just do pockets of the garden and really fine-tune those spaces using a photograph.
Well, as mentioned, you grow in Zone 5B. And you grow tropical plants in your garden. What are your practices of getting them to grow and keeping them alive over the winter in Chicago area, where it is quite cold during the peak winter months?
Sure. So I love musabaju or hardy banana. So I grew that for a number of years in containers, and then I would muscle that thing into the house because it's massive, it's very heavy. And hardy banana is hardy to zone 5, but a lot of people go to great lengths to protect it when they've got it in the landscape. And I didn't want to do that. And then I decided that, 1 year I was going to finally do that. So I buried it under like 3 feet of leaves, and I caged it to keep those light leaves intact. And it came back. It's been in the landscape for a couple years now. And last year I decided I wasn't going to cover it at all. And it still came back. It's beautiful, but I've got it in a very protected site. But for tropicals, that maybe aren't hardy in our area, very few are, I'll bring them in. I'll save my canna rhizomes. I'll bring in my elephant ears and just keep them in the basement in a cold, dark environment. And then I check them from time to time to make sure they're not completely drying out. I don't want to give them too much water because that really is the kiss of death for plants if you're giving too much, because they'll just rot. But it's really a simple process. It's not difficult. I do the same thing with my dahlias. Bring them in and I store them in a little animal bedding in a plastic bag. And animal bedding I found is the cheapest way to go, and it's been the most successful for me. But it's just about digging things up and putting them in a cool, dark place for the wintertime.
That's very interesting. So you had posted a blog about growing blueberries in alkaline soil. Blueberries typically need acidic soil. Tell us more about that process and how it worked out.
Yeah, so, knowing your soil's pH is key. So my soil in my raised beds is right around 7.4, and blueberries like a pH anywhere between 4.5 and 5.5. So before I planted my blueberries, I grow a smaller variety for small spaces, and I amended the soil first, got some compost in there, worked it in well, and then I acidified the soil and to lower that pH and make those nutrients available to, because when your pH in your soil is too high, the nutrients that your blueberries need is just not available to the plant. So acidifying the soil and then, addressing the soil every couple months with a little bit more berry fertilizer and paying close attention to the leaves, because the leaves, even right now, as the season progresses, the leaves start becoming chlorotic. So there's chlorosis going on and they'll start yellowing and you'll see that green veining. And I'm just listening to the plants. I'm not constantly testing my soil. I know the pH is always going to run high, but the plant leaves are telling me that the soil the pH is climbing and it needs to be acidified again so that those nutrients become available. So I'll go in with more soil acidifier, just following the instructions for whatever soil acidifier I use, and working it in, keeping it watered, and then over time those leaves will green up. And it's just a kind of a constant process, but it's so worth it because I grow them in raised beds and my harvests are prolific. I mean, there's nothing like homegrown blueberries on small space plants. It's just so rewarding and it's really easy.
And these are multi-year plants. You're not, how are you overwintering them?
Oh, sure. Yeah. So I dedicated an entire raised bed. So I have a few 4x8 raised beds, and I've got one raised bed that's dedicated entirely to blueberries and strawberries. So, the first year they'll put on some fruit. I was really surprised the second year how big of a harvest I got. So the third year on a few of my plants has been wonderful, and then several of my other plants are going into their second year. So I'm expecting every year that they're going to get better and better and better. And my greatest concern is making sure that I get that netting on those plants when those berries start coloring up, because the birds and all the critters will beat me to it if I don't.
Absolutely. Well, Heather, we appreciate your time, your information, your knowledge. How can people find out more about you and visit your blog?
Well, you can find me on my blog at hereshegrows.com. I'm also I have a YouTube channel at Heather Here She Grows, and on Instagram, Heather Here She Grows.
Well, Heather, thank you so much for your time and your knowledge, not only for Holly and myself, but all of our listeners. We appreciate it very much.
Oh, thank you so much, guys.
Absolutely. And when we return, it's going to be your garden questions and our garden answers. You're tuned in to the Gardening with Joy and Holly radio show.
Got a question for Joey and Holly? Send it via email anytime to gardentalkradio@gmail.com.
4-Jar Canning Supply, your one-stop shop for all your canning needs, where old ways meet new in every jar. They are a family with decades of home canning experience, offering top quality products and outstanding service. Never run out of canning lids again. Whether you're a seasoned canner or just starting out, their extensive range of canning products will elevate your canning game. 4jars.com. Inspired by the homemade preserves of our childhoods, they want to share that same joy with you. They deeply care about your family's health and understand the importance of homemade, nutritious meals. That's why they offer high-quality products to help you preserve your food. Quality canning lids, pressure canners, vacuum seal machines, and all the tools you need to get the job done. 4 Jars has you covered. Our canning lids provide the perfect airtight seal for any regular, wide, or gym-sized jar. With the thickest lids on the market, they provide long-lasting freshness, up to 18 months, and are rust-resistant, ensuring your preserves stay secure. Use code 4JARS25 to save 10% off your order at 4jars.com. That's FORJARS25 to save 10% off your order at 4jars, FORJARS.com. Check out ivorganics.com. It's America's leading garden product YouTube channel. IV Organic products are innovative, organic, effective, and proudly USA made to help you achieve your best growing season. Use coupon code RADIO10 at checkout and save 10% on your entire order at ivorganics.com. That coupon code again is RADIO10 to save 10% on your order at ivorganics.com. If you could double the life of your raised bed boxes by sealing the wood with a clear, non-toxic wood preservative, would you? Well, now you can with a clear, penetrating product called Internal Wood Stabilizer. It's 100% non-toxic and easy to apply. Seal your untreated wood surfaces, even chicken coops, by spraying on Internal Wood Stabilizer. It's invisible, seals the wood from the inside out, and never wears off. Recommended by organic gardening experts. Internal Wood Stabilizer. Check it out at timberprocoatingsusa.com. Vermont Bean Company is a family-owned and operated gardening company with the largest selection of seeds online. Use coupon code 15TG25 to receive 15% off your order at vermontbean.com. That coupon code is 15TG25 to receive 15% off your order at vermontbean.com. Welcome back to the Gardening with Joey and Holly radio show. Thank you for being with us today. Want more information about those companies that support the program? The WisconsinVegetableGardener.com underneath the Season 9 tab and the Money tab for coupon codes. Time for your garden questions and our garden answers. Send them on over to GardenTalkRadio@gmail.com. That's GardenTalkRadio@gmail.com. Or you can give us a call toll free, coast to coast, at 1-800-927-SHOW. That's 1-800-927-7469. Question come in. How do you sterilize your canning jars?
Okay, so first you're going to wash them with hot and soapy water.
Manually or mechanically?
Yeah. Even if you washed them last year, 6 months ago, you want to rewash them before canning. You don't have to scrub them down if they're clean. Like if they're visibly clean, you don't have to scrub them down, but you want to give them a nice wash and rinse with warm soapy water, hot soapy water. And then there's a couple ways you can sterilize them. People will put them in their dishwasher in the warming?
Warming or sterilizing
option. Uh-huh. Otherwise, you can put them in the oven on the lowest temperature, or you can put them in your canner as it's coming to temperature, assuming you're boil water bath canning. If you're pressure canning, you have to sterilize them a different way. But if you're pressure canning, if you're boil water bath canning, you can put them in there while they're boiling, and then you just pull them out one by one to fill them.
The best option we have found is in the oven, lowest settings, 175 degrees, to keep the jars warm, because you cannot put hot liquid in cold jars. The jars will break every time.
Yeah.
So you got to keep them warm and move at a brisk pace, and it will work very well. We've got plenty of videos on how to do that at our YouTube channel, which is The Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener, and we've got 46 how-to canning videos on there. Are you still waiting for tomatoes? Here in Chicago, my kale salads are missing fresh tomatoes. I usually am swimming in them come mid-August.
I know for many people, they are still waiting on tomatoes, especially in the upper Midwest, because of warmer climates, a lot of rain.
A lot of factors.
A lot of rain. I'm not saying that the wildfire smoke has an impact, but I think it may have at some point.
We just got a first big small batch of tomatoes this past about a couple weeks ago. Yeah.
So it's it seems like they're a little slow this year.
Okay. Cindy and Andre listening to us on Wham Radio 1600 AM and 92.7 FM out of Ann Arbor, Michigan. The question is, I have the whitish pumpkin bug on the pumpkin leaves. I can't find the spots where the vine starts. Will a Polythium product, Phylum bioproducts work? My apologies. So love listening to you on Sunday mornings.
Well, thank you for listening. And it sounds like you have squash bugs. Phylum wouldn't be the solution. What you can do is you can do a few different things. One would be cultural controls, which would be make sure your plants are strong, healthy, sturdy, and that you are fertilizing your soil and watering properly to help limit squash bug damage. You want to, since this is going to continue, you want to remove those plants after the growing season and get rid of them, put them in the trash. Don't compost them, don't burn them, don't put them on the curb or anything like that. And then you can crush the eggs. If you see the eggs, they would be on the underside of the leaves. So you want to crush the eggs so there's not more. Some people will literally pick the squash bugs off their plants and destroy them. If you want to go an organic route, these are the best options.
You can also take and wrap some duct tape around your hand, invert it, so it's like a felt. A
roller.
That you take the felt, the junk off your clothes, hair removal.
Yeah.
That works
Lint
as well.
roller.
Lint roller.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
You can do that as well.
Some people trap them by laying out like boards and pieces of newspaper, and then what they do is they group. So you lay the boards down, and then you put the newspaper on top, and they will go under the boards, and then you can collect them and destroy them in the morning.
So the paper goes down, then the board, and then it kind of creates a cavity where you can roll the newspaper up and dispose of them or whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
So hopefully that helps. Others, some people will actually take like a portable vacuum and go and vacuum them up as well. Now, usually these bugs, when squashed or crushed, emit quite a non-pleasant smell. So if you are wanting to, use a vacuum, a handheld vacuum strictly for garden use, there are other options that you can utilize that for other bug removal.
Right. You can vacuum the bugs, which sounds probably kind of funny, but it would be effective. You just want to be gentle with those leaves, especially something like squash plants have pretty sturdy leaves, but if it's something else that has more of a delicate leaf, just keep that in mind. Like a tomato plant, I don't know what you'd vacuum off a tomato plant, but maybe not do that to a tomato plant. The biggest thing is just making sure that if you ever have a disease of a plant or something that was infested with like a blight or a lot of insects like mildew, you want to make sure that you trash that plant. You don't put it in your compost, you don't burn it, you don't put it in for the city on the curb, you just put it in the trash.
And if your city frowns upon that, well, there are black trash bags, and you can put that at the bottom of the trash bag and throw other household items on top of it, and nobody will know the wiser.
Correct.
Well, we are out of time, and we thank you for yours. Miss any portion of the program today, would like to revisit it, you can do such by going to your favorite search engine and typing in the Gardening with Joy and Holly radio show. And you can find all 9 seasons and 300 plus episodes in their entirety and segment-wise. Tune into the program next week where we'll be talking about the farm effect, something that the Amish have found out, and then we are going to discuss how that translates to the rest of the world, as well as indoor plants and terrariums. Our guest is Rebecca from Instagram. Happy Heart Gardens will be with us, and will answer your garden questions. So until next week, for
Holly Baird,
I'm Joy Baird, and we will see you in the garden.